Welcome back to Story Mitra. And this time, I, Nandita, your Story Mitra, have an interesting story written by one of the legends in Hindi literature, Munshi Premchand. And on the occasion of his death anniversary, this 8th October, here goes the story written by him. There was no concept of Tata salt, Desh ka namak, or Captain Cook free flow salt, or even the Nirma Shuddh namak. Yes, there was no concept of packaged salt. Forget packaged salt. There was no concept of free trade of salt. Yes, you know why? Because it was banned. Yes, friends, I take you back to pre independent times when the manufacture and open trade of salt was banned. Naturally, people resorted to illegal means of smuggling and bribery. And of course, the ones who benefited the most were the government officials. And now, everybody, right from the lawyers to the patwaris, that is, the land measuring officers, wanted a job at the salt department. Just then, a young lad by the name of Munshi Banshidhar was looking for a job. His father summoned him and told him, Banshi, you know the situation of our family. We are in such huge debt, and you have sisters to marry off. In this situation, I am almost retired. You are the head of our family. So please look for a job which pays well in terms of salary and something over and above the salary. Do not look for a status in your profession. And remember, salary is like a full moon that wanes and comes back into its position the next month. Whereas an income over and above the salary is like a river which keeps flowing throughout the month and keeps you happy. Always remember, if you're tough with a person who needs no favor, you may have to pay the price for it. But if you are tough with a person who is in need of a favor, you will be rewarded very well. This is the accumulation of knowledge of my life. Taking his father's blessings, the obedient Vanshidhar set out in search for a job. To his luck, he landed a job in the salt department itself as the salt inspector, Namak Ka Daroga. It had been 6 months that he was in the job. It was a cold winter night, and everybody in the salt department were dead drunk. The Jamuna River was barely a mile away from the salt department. They had closed the doors inside the department, and everybody was fast asleep. This Jamuna River flowed peacefully at a mile away. And there was also a boat bridge over the river. Now, suddenly, Vanshidhar was woken up by some rattling sounds. He thought to himself, in this time of the night, instead of listening to the river flowing, what are these rattling noises? And immediately he got dressed up, took his work pistol, and rode his horse to the river. And his suspicions were confirmed. A lot of bullock carts there at the river. Kiski gaadiyan hai ye? He thundered. There was absolute silence. After some murmuring amongst them, one car driver replied, Pandit, Pandit Alopidin ki sahib. कौन पंडित अलोपीदीन दातागंज के साहेब. And that's it. Vanshidhar was shocked. This Pandit Alopideen was was the prominent zamindar of that area. And there was no trader, small or big, who was not indebted to him. And he was also very popular amongst the British officers. They would be his guests for hunting, and this hospitality would continue throughout the year. Hmm. कहाँ जाएंगी ये गाड़ियां? He asked. कानपुर साहेब. क्या भरा है इन गाड़ियों में? No answer. सुनाई नहीं दे रहा या गूंगे हो गए हो? क्या भरा है इन गाड़ियों में? No answer again. So he strode towards one of the carts, opened, and saw what lay under. Yes, it was salt. बुलाओ अपने पंडित जी को, अभी के अभी. गिरफ्तार करना है उन्हें. Few cart drivers, scared and panicked, ran to the beaded chariot that followed the convoy. Pandit Alopidin was in his beaded chariot, half asleep, half awake, and was following the convoy. The cart drivers came running and said, Maharaj, Daroga Sahib ने गाड़ियां रोक ली हैं, आपको बुला रहे हैं. जाओ, आता हूं, he said. Now, Pandit Alopidin was a person who had more faith in the power of the goddess of wealth, Lakshmi, than he had in any judicial system. So he took out a betel leaf, rolled some things over it, folded it, put it in his mouth, started chewing it, and then walked towards the inspector and said, Ashirwad Babu, how have I erred that you have stopped my carts here? Government order, said Vanshidhar. Government order? I know of no other government or government order. You are my government and your order is my government order. Tell me, how can I help you? Arrest him, Vanshidhar told his assistant, Badluram. Everybody there was shocked, including Badluram, whose hands were trembling. Pandit Alopidin recovered quickly and told his assistant, this Daroga is not understanding what I'm saying. Give him 1,000 rupees. 1,000? Even if you give me 1,00,000 of rupees, I will not be sold. And that way, the bribe increased from 1,000 to 5,000 to 10 to 15 to 25 and finally to 40,000. After which Pandit Alopidin took to the humble tune. What will you get by arresting me? Please leave me. I have a reputation to keep. Please don't do this to me. I am offering you 40,000 rupees. 40,000? Even if you give me 40 lakh rupees, I will not spare you. Namak haram nahi hu main. Arrest him. He will be produced in court tomorrow. Pandit Alopidin had seen the victory of Dharma over Artha for the first time in his life, and he was dumbfounded. Although Pandit Alopidin was arrested in the dead of the night, the next day the whole place was only talking about Pandit Alopidin being arrested. And when he was taken to court, handcuffed, and as he held his head low in shame, it appeared as if there was a fair. There were crowds gathered all over the roads, and people were looking out from the rooftops just to see this view of how Pandit Alopidin was being taken to the court, handcuffed. But when he reached the court, the scenario was completely different. The tables had turned. He was the untamable lion in the unpenetrable jungle. The officers were his domestic help. The junior officials were his minions. The lawyers were his devotees. And the peons and clerks were his voluntary slaves. What more could he have asked for? Pandit Alopiddin was confident now. On the other hand, Munshi Vanshidhar had nothing but truth by his side. Even the handful of witnesses had turned their side on account of greed of wealth. Munshi Vanshidhar realized he was in the place where justice had to be served, but he was amongst the most unjust and sold off people. And the judge delivered the judgment. Pandit Alopiddin was left scot free for the lack of any evidence. And on the other hand, Munshi Vanshidhar was given a warning to do his job a bit more correctly. Although he was honest in his job, but he had caused a lot of agony and trouble to a person of such high repute and stature who would not indulge in such smuggling activities. Munshi Vanshidhar had antagonized Artha and he had to pay the price for it. Within a week, he was suspended from his job for being loyal to it. Imagine, imagine what was the situation in his household when this news went there. His parents and his wife were devastated, and as he reached home, nobody even bothered to talk to him. A week passed, and one evening, a bedazzled chariot came and stopped outside Vanshidhar's house. His father ran out to receive the guest who got out of the chariot. Yes, it was Pandit Alokviti. Maharaj, how lucky we are that you have come to our house, the father said. And I don't know how to apologize to you to have brought up such a son who doesn't know how to respect you. I wish I was sonless than having such a son. Bhai Sahib, no, don't say that. It takes a lot to be so loyal to your job, to refuse such an obscene amount of money at such a young age, and to hold up the name of your ancestry and your family. Such men are very rare to find. Don't say anything to him. And he looked at Munshi Vanshidhar and said, you may think I am flattering you, but I have not come all this way to flatter you. I don't need to. Vanshidhar, looking at Pandit Alopiddin, rose and welcomed him with his head held up high, as he thought he was in for some more humiliation. But as he heard Pandit Alopiddin's words, his heart softened and he said, Panditji, I was bound by the shackles of my duty and I had no option but to arrest you. Otherwise, I am your humble servant. Tell me, how can I help you? Pandit Alopiddin said, that day at the river, I had an offer for you which you declined. But today, I have an offer which I will not let you decline. And he handed over a piece of paper to Vanshidhar. Vanshidhar read the paper, and his eyes were filled with tears, tears of gratefulness. For Pandit Alopiddin had appointed him the manager of all his properties, along with a salary of 6,000 rupees per annum, plus daily expenses, a big bungalow to live in full of servants, and a horse to ride for his own. But Panditji, I am unfit for this job, Vanshidhar said. I want an unfit person, Panditji said. But Panditji, I have neither experience nor expertise in this kind of a job. Experience and expertise, I have seen a lot, Vanshidhar, and I know what happens to these people with experience and expertise when they see money. I need a person who can uphold dharma in any situation. And I have seen that you can do that very well. Finally, Vanshidar's loyalty had paid off. Vanshidhar ki namak halali rang लाई thi. Thank you. So, friends, I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed narrating it to you. Food for thought. This was the pre independence days. Do discuss with your family, maybe your parents or your grandparents, about the situation back then and how difficult it was to survive in such tough times. So, if you enjoyed this story and would like to listen to more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Story Mitra. And please do share and like and comment on this video. Thank you. Have a nice day, a great week. Stay home, stay safe. Bye bye.